What's up, everybody? Keith, aka Gear Guy 231. We have made it to the end of the international break, final slate of games today. It is Tuesday, September 8th. Looking forward to this one. Let's just kind of jump right into the mix. Just a quick reminder, bottom right, hit that subscribe button if you are enjoying the videos. We're going to have a lot more content coming up for the EPL season. Really looking forward to that. But let's talk about what we have in front of us today, which is this 4 games Nation League slate. If you do want more info too, just hit the cheat sheet at the link in the details. I'll take you to the site where you can also look up subscription plans if you want to join our chat. All right, Belgium minus 662 favorite. One thing on this cheat sheet that I'll be updating after this is over, Kevin De Bruyne is available for Belgium. We will see if he plays, but obviously if he plays, with Belgium being the biggest favorite on the slate, it'll be really hard to not play him. Also expected into the starting 11 is Eden Hazard, which, for Belgium, he's been sensational. And after a very disappointing season for Real Madrid, I'm sure he's going to look to rebound, and maybe this will be a good chance for him to do so. But minus 662 favorite, a lot of this is going to be determined on how much Belgium you pick. England plus 112 favorite away to Denmark. England is expected to go back to a back 3, which is going to make their wing backs really interesting. We'll talk about that in a minute. Portugal minus 119 away favorite to Sweden. And then we have France minus 150 home favorite to Croatia. All right, I want to go all the way down the bottom, and we're going to start with Belgium because I think that's going to be what's the most important thing on this slate. So if Kevin De Bruyne is in, really hard to see as a huge favorite how you don't play him. Should be over most, if not all, set pieces in that situation. And as we know, he's probably the best midfielder and maybe best out-and-out playmaker in the world. So really hard to avoid him versus an Iceland team that specifically loves to bunker, loves to just stay in shape, where a guy like Kevin De Bruyne, really that's where they need him the most to be creative and play make. So it would be hard to avoid him. It would be also hard to avoid Eden Hazard. Believe he takes PKs, if I remember correctly, for Belgium. Priced pretty efficiently under 9K. Would be hard, we want to use our salary on the biggest favorite here, right? Biggest favorite, biggest total, biggest implied total, all those things. So let's use our salary here and maybe, forego a little bit of floor elsewhere. Finally, the big decision, though, that I do think that everybody's going to struggle with, and he's the cover of this article, is are you going to play Lukaku or not? You're going to need a goal just to make value. 1 goal, if you fade him, will not kill you. 2 goals may. I do think he's going to push 50% today. He's under 10K, forward eligible. And again, you have a minus 600 plus favorite here. So if you kind of don't overthink it, the out-and-out striker that almost always scores for Belgium, that makes a lot of sense. I do think if Kevin De Bruyne is out, Leandro Trossard is really interesting. He could actually jump on some set pieces in kind of that Mertens role. And Trossard's just a damn good player, so I do like him. Finally, nobody will ever forget that plays DFS soccer the day that Thomas Meunier, I think I said it right. Anyhow, put up like 60 DraftKings points, maybe 50. I think it was like the biggest total ever before Neymar destroyed him one Liga Un slate. Anyhow, sub 5K for a wingback I think is fine. Castagne is fine as well, but his price point takes him a little bit out of play. You start getting closer to like the TAA, and he's above Trippier. I think great, though, for stacks. If you're just going to go like an out-and-out Belgium stack, Castagne could make a lot of sense. All right, Iceland. No thanks. Not playing anybody from there. All right, let's go back up to the top so I just maintain some order. Sweden and Portugal. Look, the other big decision potential in the slate is Bruno Fernandez. I think he becomes easier to play if you don't have Kevin De Bruyne. But if Kevin De Bruyne is in, you're probably just choosing between the two. Sweden, in my opinion, is a much better team than Iceland. The odds would agree with that. Where I do think that Bruno is fadeable. He was not on a monopoly set pieces. Guerrero and both Bernardo Silva were still taking some. Obviously, Bruno is great, but I don't know if you need him. Also, the looming thing in the room is how is Bruno going to actually play with Cristiano Ronaldo on the pitch? If that ends up happening, obviously, when Ronaldo is there, Ronaldo is a magnet for the ball, for the shots, all those things. So I do think that you have to bump almost everybody on Portugal down when Ronaldo is in, because he just soaks up that much more pressure. Now, you could argue that this might be an epic spot to play Ronaldo because Lukaku is going to soak up so much ownership, because Belgium is going to soak up so much you could get Ronaldo, like 30%, whereas on a normal site, he'd be 55 or 60 on an international site. So keep that in mind. As long as the toe issue is cleared up, like there's no reason he won't play 90. I think didn't prepare well, obviously, for this in terms of narratives, but I think he's on like a goal record to, I think it's like 100 international goals. Could be wrong. Leave it in the chats. Call me an idiot. I don't care. But yeah, there could be some narrative too going on with him. The fullbacks were awesome last game, João Cancelo and Rafael Guerreiro. I think both are in play again, but this is a phenomenal defender slate. I already mentioned Meunier. I'm going to mention Trent Alexander-Arnold and Trippier. So there are just a ton of options, but Cancelo and Guerreiro might be great ones as well, and maybe come in a little bit lower owned. I think that covers Portugal well. On the Sweden side of things, I don't really see, after how good Portugal looked versus Croatia, I don't really see targeting anybody from Sweden. Forsberg, maybe some people will like because he's on sets and Ford eligible. I think it's worth noting that he could lose some sets to Kuleveski, who like is almost guaranteed to be in after Zlatan ripped the Sweden manager. And I think Sweden manager even made like a comment like he probably should have been in, something along those lines. But the Juve stud should be in. Bingtonson, still under 4K. I think he's fine. He didn't take any sets, but he and Lustig were both very active crossers. So I do think that potentially the only way that I'd go Sweden are the fullbacks. France versus Croatia. Let's start out on the France side. I really only think there's like two guys and maybe two or three punts that you would consider here. A lot of predictions have Mbappe in. This one doesn't. If Mbappe is in, he actually was splitting sets with Griezmann, which I think at 9,100 makes Mbappe really interesting. Again, you're going to have so much ownership sucked up by Lukaku that Mbappe could come in, maybe even like sub 20% for being a guy on sets and being one of the best strikers in the world. I think that makes a lot of sense. Griezmann was awful last game. Maybe I talked about how France's Griezmann is completely different than Barcelona's Griezmann. Well, maybe Barcelona potentially did like screw with Griezmann's head because he looked lost in the highlights and things that I saw. Then he misses the PK. Just a howler for him. Maybe that's a great reason to go back to him, right? Because he was pushing 50% plus in cash last slate, and now he's going to be like 0 owned, so it could make some sense. Hell, freaking Griezmann plus Mbappe stack, like nobody's going to be on. It's going to be stacking France up with Portugal coming up 4 goals and Belgium being my 600 favorite. So, you really be contrarian. There you go. So right wing back, I would thought it would be Du Bois again, but I mean, if Sissoko's there, he's cheap, and hell, like could do worse. Conte's cheap. I think that those two are some punts that I think are very playable, as is Upamecano, sub 3K. That's playing that back three. I think he can get you 5 to 6, and then if you get a clean sheet, maybe you're even pushing double digits. So yeah, that's France. No interest in Lucas Hernandez at his price if he's in the back three. You'll know if he's in back three if you see a left back. So if you see Dean or Mendy, then Lucas Hernandez is in back three. If you don't see Dean or Mendy, then you would probably see Fernandez playing fullback, which he's playable at that point. Croatia side of things, they looked awful versus Portugal. I almost said Poland versus Portugal. Borna Berisic, I think might be the only guy target. He took I think 2 corners last game. Without I'm already blank. Bracalo and Vlasic maybe is the guy that jumps on a few more. But I think that Croatia players are thin. They just are not the same team without Modric in there. Perisic maybe. I don't know. I think they're all just GBP plays. Nothing I'm really going to like for optimal, so I'm just going to move on. Final game is Denmark. Jeez, I'm struggling this morning. Denmark versus England. All right, so one thing I just want to point out. Everything I've read is that England is going to do a back three. So there's a very, very good chance that you see Declan Rice drop back here. If it's Declan Rice, or I actually read that Connor Cody is expected to come in. So it'd be Gomez, Dyer, Cody, and then Trippier, left wing back, Trent Alexander-Arnold, right wing back. Look, if they're playing wing backs, like I struggle to find a way that I'm not going to play Trent Alexander-Arnold. He's only 6,200. would at least be on a share of sets with Trippier and Ward-Prowse, if not a majority of them. I think it's kind of becoming well known in England that TAA is one of the best free kick takers in the country, if not the world. So I struggle to see how they would just decide to not give him any. Additionally, he just gives you a ton of open play value. Like Trent is in there to cross the ball. So I think that he makes a lot of sense, especially in a game that I think England should have like 60% possession. Trippier, I'd like a little less on the left because I think you become set dependent for him. I think he only had like 4 or 5 crosses versus Iceland, and of which I think 4 of them were from corners. So I would want more open play value. So he's very, very right-footed. So that means all of the crosses that he gets have to be kind of cut back in. He's not going to really be terribly comfortable on his left foot crossing it. Ward-Prowse is fine too, but if I saw Trent Alexander-Arnold, which with Kyle Walker suspended, we probably should, I think Ward-Prowse potentially could lose sets. I think he only took like 1 or 2 corners last game, so I don't think he's needed. I think the England forwards will be very under-owned too. Like, here's the theme, right, guys? Like, Belgium's going to soak up ownership. Then you're probably going to have Ronaldo. So then, like, the likes of Griezmann, Mbappe, Kane, Sancho, Sterling, all these guys are going to go super under-owned. So I think those are fine plays as well. From the Denmark side of things, Christian Erickson, look, he lost some sets to Robert Skov. So if we're playing him as a big dog, the only reason that we want to do so is that he had a set monopoly. So if we see Skov, I think they almost cancel each other out. The play I do want to mention that makes some really intriguing forward builds is Jacob Roon Larson, 3,500 forward eligible. If you want to go more balanced and you don't want to like have many punts, you want the good defenders, some good mid-tier midfielders, and like one good forward, Larson could get you there. So good player too. So I think that is very viable. All right, guys, good luck today. Thank you. I should say guys and gals. I know we have a number of ladies in the Discord room too playing DFS with us. So thank you to everyone for watching this preview. Once again, Keith, aka Gator Guy 231, and have a great day.